Sometimes when you're researching Tartaria, it can feel a bit like this. So you're running towards freedom. You have all these other people running in a different direction. It really feels like you're running against the grain. Now this is even more so with homeschooling, because education is a foundational construct that's been hijacked and weaponized, and homeschooling offers a way out.
Before I started homeschooling my kids, I was one of those people who never questioned anything. I believed what was on the news. I had no reason, or so I thought, to question anything. With all the technology that we have, with all of the changes going on, why is it that the one thing that doesn't seem to be changing is school? Why does our school system still look like it did back, say, in the early 1900s? Why are they using the same techniques? And the reason, I think, is because it has worked so well. You know, you always hear people talking about how schools are failing students. Academically, yes, they're failing our students, but schools themselves are not failing. Schools are doing exactly what they were designed to do.
Could the popularization, or kind of like the forced homeschooling of the last couple of years, open more people up to what's actually being taught in schools? Now, history is one of those foundational elements on which I think our society is basically built upon. It's why we do what we do. And so that's one of the areas to deconstruct first.
Because fake news sits on top of fake history. Part of our liberation is not just the ability to read between the lines, to figure out when you're being conned, but also to be able to deconstruct these fake narratives.
Now, seeing how history is kind of reconstructed gives us a framework for how other elements are also kind of reconstructed. And this gives us a window into what to look for when you're looking at media, stories, and so on. So history really is this foundational element that weaves through everything else. Because once you have your why and your reasons and your heroes and so on pinned on the wall, it's easy enough to kind of put everything else in place and point to that as one of the reasons why you would do this or why you would do that. And that reinforces a current news paradigm or whatever it might be. And it all stems, of course, from education. Yet even that is not enough. Now we're all here to help each other, while at the same time really acknowledging that a lot of the transformation comes from within, not necessarily learning about the history or the tools being used. It's giving up the old to make way for the new, while acknowledging that you won't always be right, and you don't have to be. I think the key is in transformation, and really basically giving yourself more time for deeper thinking rather than reactionary thinking, because it's the reactionary part that is easily manipulated, controlled by fear. And so more time that we can allow for the expansion of ideas, the better off we're going to be. The less control that all these other elements have, because you have time to understand them, you have time to learn about them and go deeper with them, rather than just learning and then making a decision. The truth, after all, is much like the trickster in myths, who lays traps for you just so you fall in them for a laugh. A lot of times those traps have the truth right below your feet. So the very traps that you think you're getting into offer you the truth of the way out. And that's the whole trickster part that's so frustrating, funny, and enlightening at the same time. The more we step back from what we're living within, the easier it is to kind of see it from a whole different angle, and from that perspective, see the truth within the lies, and vice versa. When you have time, for example, it's much easier to basically go down different rabbit holes and to see things like Admiral Byrds' secret diary.
We should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning. The gyroscope is oscillating back and forth.
Obviously, there's so much more to learn. And of course, there's potholes of lies in all these rabbit holes. And so you have to be aware of that as well. What I like about all this is approaching it much like you would with homeschooling.
If you're going to do that, probably best not to do it on your own. And it's like you need a board of advisors or something like that. And so maybe it can't just be you. And you have to figure out, well, what is the aim? And how are you going to manage that? And what makes you think you can do it? Even if it's being done badly publicly, what makes you think you could do it better?
I don't think we can reach this on our own. That's why we need communities of people to bounce ideas off of and really figure things out, give perspective, so we don't get caught in those potholes of lies. And we can still delve into the rabbit hole and kind of help each other along the way. We can feed each other information that we've gleaned, and thereby save time, but also confirm some of our findings. Now, there's some studies that say for survival, you need about 100 people in a community. This is for safety and so on. But I think in this modern day and age, and the way things are with technology and everything, I'd increase that to 300. And really 300, the right motivated people can do quite a bit.
This is where we hold them. This is where where we fight. This is where they die. And these shields, boys. Remember this day, man, or it will be yours for all time.
Technology allows so many different communities to join, and really you can find and connect with so many different people that it's a lot more likely you're going to get to that 300 than you would in the past, maybe without the technology. I mean, we're trapped by technology, but we can also use it for our freedom. Now, if that interests you, one of the communities you should definitely check out is one I joined recently that basically looks at transforming land into healing communities, retreats, and so on. So that instead of developing in the traditional way, you're making it a place for rediscovery, for healing, and so on. And so if that interests you at all, you should definitely check out the link in the description. It describes a bit more of that. So if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.